This episode is so good. It could have been a season finale. I just want to start off with saying that after watching, I think it's episode 305, Help Me, I am convinced that Ghost is dead and he's in purgatory. He he has the worst luck ever. It's like he's what's his name? Corleone. He's like, every time I want out, they pull me back in. And that's exactly what's happening. So, Tommy and Holly, they are really the focal points of Help Me. It starts out with they're at home and Tommy is sitting in the windowsill. And he's like digging a groove in the wood with his gun because he's paranoid. He is so paranoid because in the previous episode, he got shot and he doesn't know who tried to kill him, and so the wheels in his mind are turning and he's trying to figure it out. And he's telling his girl Holly he doesn't think that it was Lobos, and of course she has already hired the Jamaicans to kill Ghost, so she's trying to justify her decision by bringing Tommy back to the whole Lobos theory. And so she's basically in his ear. She's like, well, even if it wasn't, he wants us dead and you won't kill Ghost and blah, 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 blah. And Tommy's just like, I have to talk to Ghost. Or before he does that, he gets a text from Ghost and Holly says, don't answer it. And he doesn't really even see that it's from Ghost. And she's really just honing in that they can actually kill Ghost together. So you see in this scene, it's really a setup for the action, the subsequent action in the show, that she's trying to say, look, I'm your partner. I got your back. While Tommy is like, okay, I have to fix this with Ghost. She's like, no, forget about Ghost. Look at me. I'm here for you. And that's very telling. So then it goes to Angela and Ghost in bed. And Angela and Ghost, they're always in bed. So, I mean, I don't know what to say about that. But Angela's detached until he's like, yeah, what's wrong? We're happy. We're together. And she's just like, there's so many obstacles. I don't know if we're going to be together. And so he's just like, we're together. What's the deal? But she gets a text and she has to go to work. So then we go into this whole Mike Sandoval, who is the cricket, is he a DA? He's in Angela's office, and he's in cahoots with Lobos. And Lobos basically heightens the tension and takes it to another level when he threatens Sandoval's daughter. So you have to kind of keep all of this in the background of your mind as we go to the other scenes, because it's the driving action. It's in a good story, you always have someone in that scene. What are they most afraid of losing at the moment? And in that moment, Mike is afraid of losing, people finding out he's crooked, and then Lobos heightens that by saying you can lose your life, but you're also going to lose your daughter. So yeah. Back to Tommy and Holly. So Tommy's mother comes and, she is a piece of work. And she comes in and she's like, Tommy's like, what are you doing here? And she's like, yeah, the rent's due or the mortgage is due. So he's like, yeah, I'll have Tasha run me back a check. She's like, I'm not leaving till I get my money. She marches in there, and as she is marching in the loft, Holly is marching up to her, and you can see that they are the mirror images of each other. They're both, these redheads, ginger-haired, feisty women, both fighting for the number one position in Tommy's life. And Tommy is kind of stuck in the middle of it because he has this crazy improper relationship with his mother, as we see later when they're actually doing cocaine on the table together. And it's just like this, he's like Oedipus Rex, and this is crazy. But Holly's mother notices when Holly introduces herself and shakes her hand that she's wearing her mother's ring. And she's like, she has on my mother's ring, blah, blah, blah. And there's like this tension. And the tension breaks because Tasha rings the doorbell. Tasha rings the doorbell, and she's coming in to have Tommy sign some papers. But it's also a time where the Jamaicans text Holly. This is not all in the same scene, but I'm just combining the scenes to tell the full story. She gets the text from the Jamaicans saying, if you want it done, we need this location. So she uses this opportunity to milk information from Tasha. And it's so crazy because Tasha is so hip to the game, but she is so blinded by, I think, I won't say her rage for Ghost, but that whole situation. My dog is nuts. He's running around like it's crazy. And that she can't see that Holly is milking her for information about Ghost. And she's like, what, is he with Angela? She's like, no, he's at the club planning some party as usual, which gives Holly the location that she can then text to the Jamaicans. And she starts the text and she hesitates. And then she pushes send. So we know the wheels are in motion. You know, the hit is out on Ghost, and we just can't, wait to see how it's gonna unfold. So, back to the coppers. Y'all making me laugh. What y'all do? So back to the coppers. They, Greg gets the bright idea to push Ruiz to testify and bring down the entire syndicate. His goal, of course, is to get Ruiz to testify that James St. Patrick is Ghost. He convinces Ruiz that if he doesn't testify, they're going to take him down for the hit on Nomar. And if you recall, Nomar was the CI who was sleeping with his 14-year-old daughter. So they're in this meeting about Ruiz, and Greg, he dials it up a notch. He's like, why are we stopping at Lobos? Why can't we take down the whole syndicate and get him to give us names? And we all know that his motivation is to get back at Angela because Angela's dating James St. Patrick, and he has the hunch that James St. Patrick is Ghost. So it's kind of crazy because although they're in this meeting with the head guy and under the guise that they're out for justice, each of the members at that table, well, at least 3 of them, have ulterior motives for being there and for pursuing the case. Greg, he of course wants to take down James St. Patrick because that's his romantic rival for Angela's affection. Angela wants to keep them off of Ghost and focused on Lobos because she wants to protect Jamie, who is her love interest. And Mike, because Angela and Greg are at each other's throats, they're usually so keen and sharp, no one sees that Mike is sweating bullets because Mike has just gotten threatened by Lobos that he's going to kill him and his daughter, and he is just frazzled, more frazzled than we've ever seen him. If you recall, when he first came to the task force, he was so together, and he was just, pulling strings, putting people in their place. Well, this is the first time we really see that Mike Sandoval is losing his cool. So that's very, very telling. Later on, as they're moving Ruiz throughout the building, Cantos, who is Ghost's lawyer, he happens to be there. He pays the guard to give him information, and he's like, yeah, they're moving some high-profile witness through the building, and everybody has to get out. So they're getting on the elevator because they're being, shoved out or pushed out of the area by security. So he tells Cantos this. Cantos can't wait to get back and tell Ghost, and he's like, look, Ruiz is going to snitch. The question is, who is he going to snitch on? Is it going to be you, or is it going to be Lobos, or is it going to be, those other guys, the Jimenez, and Ghost is just like so shocked. He's like, well, you're not getting information from Angela. She didn't warn you. He's like, no. So Cantos was just like, okay, well, these are the separation papers you asked for, but are you sure you want them? Because clearly Angela doesn't have your back. And he can tell he hit a sore spot with Ghost, so then he ends the conversation and then he leaves. But that's going on in the back of Jamie's head that, wow, I'm this close to being arrested and Angela didn't warn me. And that, I think, is also telling as the as the season progresses. James is losing more and more power. He's losing, although he got the club back, he's losing, power in his household. Tariq, got in trouble, stole a gun. He's losing power over Angela because clearly she didn't tell him and he thought she was in his pocket. And yeah, and he's lost power because Tommy won't even respond to him anymore. So Tariq, they go to Tariq and Tasha. She's talking to him and she's like, yeah, you're going to spend the day with your dad. And he's like, I don't want to spend the day with him. And he's, really kind of defiant. And what he doesn't know is that Ghost is in the hall and he's listening. He's basically like, I don't want to be around him. Why are you making me go see him? And Tasha is still being the bigger person, so she's talking to him and telling him how much his dad cares about him, and he's like, yeah, well, if you're making me, and so we can see, because they're switching to James in the hall, that he's like really crushed by this. So then he takes Tariq to the club, and Dre walks up and he's like, yeah, we have to talk, and he's like, well, this is my son, we'll talk later. And then he puts Tariq off on Dre for the day, which is, I'm like, you're supposed to spend time with your son, but you put him off on Dre. Like, okay. But that does give Tariq and Dre this alone time, and, Dre starts to ask him about school, that he got in trouble, and Tariq uses this opportunity to mention, about Sean. And of course, we know that Dre knows that Sean is dead. He also knows that Kanan killed Sean, and that he was the one responsible with disposing the body. So this is just like so messed up. But he does reassure Tariq that he was with his dad when he found out about Sean, and that he was really broken up and he really did care about Sean. So the writers are further building up this Tariq storyline, because there is definitely going to be some involvement with Dre and Tariq, and I don't think it's going to be good. We get to a scene in the club where the head of security, he walks in, he gives James a drink, or I can't remember if he offers him a drink or actually gives him a drink. But he tells him that, they lost track of him, the other night during the club. He's like, yeah, I just wanted to get out of here. But James doesn't know that the head of security didn't lose track of him. He actually saw him rescue Tommy from the Koreans, or by basically shooting and killing them. So the head of security knows that he has this double life. He doesn't know to what degree, but he's coming to him and he's saying, that they lost contact. And so Ghost is just like, yeah, well, you said no one's following me, so I don't need you to follow me anymore during my personal life. And I just think this is very telling, because the head security guy, he's a professional. They are like ex-military, and you have to be wondering what he's thinking. Keep that thought. So then we go to Ghost and Tariq having a moment. So all of this is at the club. You have Tariq meeting Dre, having a moment with Dre. You have Ghost having a moment with the head of security guy, and then you have Ghost having a moment with Tariq when he's basically like, "Yo, son, what's going on? Why did you take Angela's gun? What's happening? Is someone bothering you?" And Tariq opens up, and he's just like, "I was angry, and you moved out, and you moved in with Angela. You didn't talk to us about it, and you make us meet her." And James, he apologizes. He says a real man apologizes. And this is one of the most touching moments um, that I've seen with James and his children, because he Tariq hugs him, and you know how men are, so he hugs him. He's like, "Okay, okay," and Tariq just holds on and he doesn't let him go, and you can see like this awareness over James' face. He's just like, "Wow, I'm really affecting my kids." Every time Ghost attempts to move things forward with Angela, it has an inverse negative effect on his family. Um, so when he pushes the kids to stay at Angela's, which they don't want to do initially, Tasha talks them into it. Tariq steals Angela's gun. He gets in trouble, which is leading us to this moment here. And if you recall from season one, when he first started to pursue Angela, and he bought Tasha earrings to make up for lying to her, but then he also bought Angela a diamond necklace, and she had told him the story about her always buying things for herself, and some guy bought her sister Paz a bracelet, so she bought her one. It was fake and turned her arm green, and you know, it's this little touching story from her childhood. And she's like, "See, people like us, we have to do for ourselves, and people don't understand us." And so James has this connection with her, and so he buys her this necklace. Well, when he gives Tasha the earrings, Tasha goes to put up the earrings, and she's like, "Keep an eye on the baby." And he hears the baby in distress, so he rushes into her room and picks her up from the crib, and she's choking. So Tasha rushes in, and she's you know, hysterical. So he sticks his finger down her throat, and he takes out. She swallowed a piece of a toy or a keychain. And you know, Tasha's crying, and he hugs her. He hugs the baby. He's like, "Don't worry, I'm here. I got you. You're safe," and basically reassuring her that he's going to be there. He's going to play that role, the husband and the father, and take care of her to protect them. And I really love how the writers connect these seemingly, you know, innocuous situations, and they really weave a thread. Um, so yeah, I really want to see how this is going to develop with him pursuing Angela. The more he pursues her, the more his family suffers. And can he really have it all? And if, you know, the old adage, you reap what you sow. James has sown a lot of negativity. He was a drug dealer. He's murdered people. He's he's lied to Tasha. He's cheating on his wife. You know, he's breaking up his family. And when does he get his comeuppance? When does he get that karma? And I'd like to see the fallout. Not that I want something terrible to happen, but you know, as just being in love with the story, and I'm an author in storytelling, I would really love to see how that pans out. And it reminds me of, you know, with his name being Ghost, and I said previously in the other recording how the names mean so much. It's as if he's dead and he's in purgatory, you know. And we know purgatory is this place. It's like a crucible, if you will, where you're I guess I'm not a Catholic, but you burn there until you've paid your penance, and then you're able to go to heaven. And that's what it seems like with him. Every time he tries to get out of the game, something happens. It pulls him back in, and now, you know, he's even deeper. You know, he's an accessory. He, after the fact, he's helped Tommy bury his girlfriend, and you know that's gonna come back, you know, So yeah, it's really this was a really exciting episode, and kudos to whoever wrote this episode. I think it was a lot better than the last one, which relied a lot on violence, sex and violence to move the action. And here, what moves the action is the suspense of each scene. In every scene, you have a character that is afraid of losing something. In the scenes with Angela, Greg, and the other cops, I don't know what you call them, DAs, you have Sandoval, who's afraid of being murdered and having his daughter murdered and being found out. You have Angela, who's afraid of losing Ghost, and you have Greg, who is really out to get Ghost. And so he's afraid of losing Ghost as well, because that's his objective, is to really bring him in to justice. And you have Tariq, who's afraid of losing his father. You have Holly, who's afraid of losing Tommy's affection. And you have Ghost, who's really afraid of losing control. And I think that's the key with him, hence the name of the show, Power. And you're really wondering who really has the power in this situation. So all of this drama and this rise in action, it leads us to it culminates in Tommy murdering Holly in a fit of rage in a domestic violence situation. And their argument starts out and it escalates, and finally Holly hits a nerve when she's like, she basically says, you're choosing Ghost over me after everything he's done for you, and now he's dead and you're nothing, you don't even effing exist. And Tommy loses it. He slams her against the wall, he starts to choke her, and we see that he's in a real fit of rage. He can't control himself, and Holly's face is turning red and she's scratching like blood from his wrist, and he's still not letting up. And we finally see that she goes limp. She dies. So it switches to James and Angela in bed. She sleep, he can't sleep. He's tossing and turning. He finally gets up, and we see him, a man in hoodie, black gloves, walking down Tommy's loft, the hallway in his building. And we know that this means this is Ghost in killer mode. Every time when he was killing the Russians, when he not stabbed Lobos, when he was killing the other guys, he always has this hoodie. When he killed the Koreans, he was all hoodied up. So in my opinion, I think he thought Tommy had finally turned on him and he was going to kill Tommy. But when he breaks into his house even, and we see that he stops. He says, Tommy, and then he takes off his hood, he takes off his gloves, and the camera pans, the shot, goes to Tommy, and he's seated on the ground, his hands folded over his knees, his eyes are just saucers, and we see on the right Holly's dead body. And when he sees Ghost, he just says, help me, just the name of the episode. So the next scene we see, Ghost gets back in the car after obviously having buried Holly's body, and he closes the door. He hands Tommy his mother's ring, the one that he'd given to Holly earlier. And they have this sort of renewing of marriage vows, their commitment to each other. And I say the vows as their confessions to each other of loyalty. Tommy says, the Koreans, was that you? And Ghost is like, yeah. So they're talking, and Tommy mentions the Jamaicans, and Ghost says, was that you? He's like, no, it was Holly. And he confesses. He said, Lobos wanted me to kill you, and even after he threatened me and Holly, I still couldn't do it. And so they both know that they have each other's back, and they're still loyal after all of the shenanigans. And Ghost, he says, well, you know what this means? This means we have to kill Lobos together. And this is the first time you see Tommy kind of snap back to himself, and he looks at Ghost and he says, together. And we know the boys are back in business, and it's going to make for an action-packed season, and I can't wait. Thank you guys for joining me again, and I'll see you next time.